You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning. It's March the 23rd, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. And a good morning to you, Rev Cindy. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Al. I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm not doing too bad. You know, I'm looking forward to some warm weather. Health-wise, I'm steady as she goes. That's what I like to say. And with the weather eventually getting warmer, we'll get some more time outside, and things will even get better.
Yay!
Yeah, gardening. Our special little plant. We'll be able to start getting ready for it. Go outside. I think last year about this time I started working on the holes because we had not bad weather last year to get things in the ground. Even though I don't put them in at this time of the year, but getting the ground ready, the soil ready for the plants to go in. But our ground's still frozen, so I'm not going anywhere out there. No, frozen, still got snow on it. But someday.
Yes.
So, and yourself, how was your weekend?
The weekend was pretty good. It was, we had the threat of snow all weekend, but then it never showed up. It's apparently showing up this afternoon. We were supposed to get 25 to 50 centimeters, but now it's gone down to 1 to 3. So that's not bad.
That's good. Yeah, much better. 1 to 3. You'll take that over the 25. Yeah, we got some snow over the weekend as well.
Yeah.
But we live in Canada, so it's going to happen, right?
It is.
All right. What do you say we get started into the news?
We might as well.
All right. You're up.
The first story coming at us today from StratCan. End of Cannabis Act funding accounts for significant Health Canada spending and staff reductions. New federal data shows a major shift in how cannabis regulation is funded in Canada, and it's leading to significant cuts inside Health Canada. According to StratCan, recent government spending reports reveal that as initial funding tied to the rollout of the Cannabis Act comes to an end, Health Canada is scaling back both its budget and staffing levels related to cannabis oversight. In the early years following legalization in 2018, substantial federal resources were allocated to build out regulatory systems, licensing frameworks, inspection, and compliance enforcement. But now, as the system matures, those temporary funding streams are expiring. The result is a noticeable reduction in spending and fewer personnel dedicated to cannabis-related roles within the department. Officials suggest this reflects a transition from implementation to maintenance. In other words, the heavy lifting required to launch legalization has largely been completed, and the system is moving into a more stable, ongoing regulatory phase. However, some industry observers are raising concerns about what these cuts could mean in practice. Fewer inspectors and regulatory staff could impact how quickly licenses are processed, how thoroughly compliance is monitored, and how effectively the legal market is supported. There are also broader questions about whether reduced oversight could create gaps in the illicit operators' might exploit, or that illicit operators might exploit, my apologies, particularly at a time when illegal competition remains an ongoing challenge in parts of the country. The shift highlights a new chapter in Canadian cannabis policy, moving from rapid expansion and rollout towards long-term sustainability, and figuring out how much oversight is enough to keep the system functioning effectively. Well, this is interesting, Al.
Yes, yeah, I can tell you back in the day when with the MMAR, which was the previous rendition of the program, it only seemed like there was only 1 or 2 people in the office. That was about it. So I don't know how much they could cut back on full-time employees at that end of things. But yeah, there's they have added more employees as far as like doing the inspections. That's happening more often. There could be a reduction in that, but yet again, it wasn't very large in those early days either. But as far as the ramping up of things in the recreational end, I can see where that has got to its plateau and things have leveled off, and yeah, it could happen to the full-time employees getting terminated.
Yeah, I see it as they're going to stop and focus on what we've got now. When this all started, when legalization came about, when I first got into getting my license, there were 27 licensed producers in the majority in all of Canada. We had like none on the East Coast. I think the closest one to me, was in Ontario somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, but we've got them coast to coast now. Like, I mean, they're everywhere. And a lot of legacy has moved over to legal. So yeah, it's time to stop and worry about what we've got and get everything operating well, before they consider, a bunch more expansion. So yeah, I kind of agree with scaling back. I'm not sure about the inspections though. I kind of like the fact that they've been keeping an eye on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there can be good points and bad points on that, because sometimes, some patients could suffer needlessly, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens down the road as that money has been not used for that. Will things get any easier for people who are applying for either a retail license or a license for medical purposes to become a grower or a producer, anything along that line? If those delays start coming in, then obviously businesses will start screaming, and we'll all hear about the backlog.
I'm sure we will.
All righty. From that story, we're going to move on to our next one. This comes to us from MJ Biz Daily, and the headline there says, new THC allowance in Trump administration CBD Medicare plan, but no launch date yet. The hemp-derived CBD products that President Donald Trump promised to seniors via a potentially transformative Medicare pilot program will be allowed to contain more THC than previously thought, according to a new report that came out on Thursday. But while the new details reported by the Cannabis Wire would allow more participation in a program offering federally subsidized CBD products, there's still no official launch date. Now, back in November, Trump signed a new federal definition of hemp into law that advocates say criminalizes most of the $28 billion U.S. hemp industry's existing products. Now, the next month, Trump and the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Oz promised a massive new potential revenue source when they indicated that seniors on certain Medicare plans could seek reimbursement for select CBD products by April. But with April just weeks away, little detail has emerged since then, leaving both hemp operators and seniors seeking the $500 reimbursement promised by Trump and Oz in a state of flux. However, according to Cannabis Wire, a CMMS spokesperson says that the eligible products could contain up to 3 milligrams of THC per serving. Now, these eligible products, they include things that cannot be inhaled, which rules out flower extracts and vaporizer oil, cannot include cannabinoids not naturally produced or capable of being produced by or in the cannabis plant during its cultivation, which rules out Delta 8, as well as other so-called novel cannabinoids like Delta 10. Now, more details, that includes things such as doctors, pharmacies, and others, other accountable care organizations that want to participate in the still mostly undefined program will be released in the coming weeks. Just in the coming weeks, Cindy, we're going to be waiting for some more, watching for more information on this. But it's not, you throw this out there, then your deadline has come. Like, where is it? Yeah, like that sounds good. Access CBD products, seniors getting coverage for it. Some people don't like the idea that it can't be smoked. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much. It's only $500. But it's something. And yeah.
The date is here, so let's we'll keep an eye over the next few weeks, see if something happens and something gets said. So
we'll be following it.
Oh yes, that's for sure. All right, on to the next story we go.
Next story. Coming to us from Medical Express, psilocybin combined with psychotherapy shows significant efficacy. I happen to agree with this one, at least with the title anyway. A new clinical study is adding to the growing evidence that psilocybin-assisted therapy may offer powerful benefits for mental health treatment. According to Medical Express, researchers found that when psilocybin is combined with structured psychotherapy, patients experience significant improvement in symptoms, particularly in areas such as depression and emotional distress. The study reinforces a key theme emerging across psychedelic research. The effectiveness of these treatments appears to rely not just on the compound itself, but on the therapeutic context in which it's used. Participants in the study underwent guided sessions that included preparation beforehand and integration afterwards, which is the key, helping them process and make meaning of their experiences. Researchers noted that the combination approach produced outcomes that were both statistically significant and clinically meaningful. One of the notable findings is how quickly improvements can occur. Unlike traditional antidepressants, which often take weeks to show effects, psilocybin-assisted therapy may produce noticeable changes after just one, maybe a few sessions. Scientists believe this may be linked to psilocybin's ability to temporarily increase brain connectivity and flexibility, allowing individuals to break out of rigid patterns of thought associated with depression. However, researchers caution that these results come from controlled clinical environments and emphasize that safety protocols, trained therapists, and proper screening are essential. As more studies like these are published in the coming months and years, I'm sure, the evidence base supporting psychedelic therapy, psychedelic-assisted therapy continues to grow, bringing it closer to potential integration into mainstream mental health care. And Al, I think that is a really amazing thing to have happen.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Every show we've got something going on with the psilocybin end of things and the benefits that people and these researchers are finding. It's just, it seems as if the floodgates have opened.
Yes,
and all that stuff is coming out. It's seeping.
Yeah, but it's we've constantly compared the route that psilocybin has taken with the route of cannabis. And if you think back to 2016, it's the same thing. The floodgates, finally opened in the 2000s, and everything that anybody involved in the cannabis industry was saying was finally coming true. Like people were realizing that Rick Simpson isn't full of shit. It really does help to fight cancer. It does help with pain. You know, other people that are speaking up were, you know, smart in what they were doing, such as Neil Magnuson. You know, these people were showing us a way where cannabis could help, and it took a while for those floodgates to open, but they did. And now we're watching it happen with psychedelics, not just psilocybin, but psychedelics as a whole. And it's really exciting to watch it.
Yes, it is. It is. It's you know, it's been something that was demonized for so long, and now it's being, you know, heralded as a savior for so many.
Yep.
Yeah. All righty. Anything else on that?
I don't think so.
All right. Time to move on to the next story. Here we go. This one comes to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline says Japan Health Ministry announces ban on cannabinol. Yeah, correct. They're banning CBD in Japan. Japan's health minister announced Wednesday that it has classified cannabinol, CBD, or CBN, a compound derived from cannabis, as a designated drug, banning its manufacture, import, sale, and use starting June 1st, except for limited medical purposes. CBN, like, come on. Now, under the revised ordinance, CBN products sold domestically both at in-person stores and online as gummies, cookies, oils, and vapes will effectively disappear from the consumer market. Only patients with specific conditions, such as intractable diseases with no alternative therapy or treatment, will be allowed to use them, the outlet also reported. Now, consumers who are currently in possession of any products containing CBN must dispose of them by June the 1st, the minister says. Now, in late December of 2023, Japan's parliament approved a reform measure that legalized cannabis-derived medical products under certain conditions. The approved policy or public policy measure also imposed stiff penalties for the use of non-approved cannabis products, although the measure did not specifically address every known cannabinoid. Once the measure went into effect, someone caught consuming illegal cannabis products in Japan faces a penalty of up to 7 years in prison for possession of most products derived from industrial hemp was outside the scope of the new law. Now, it says it left the window open for hemp-derived products containing lesser-known cannabinoids, and that window has now been closed. Cindy, I don't know about you. I haven't heard of anything that is dangerous about CBN that would require it to be banned.
They don't want their people to sleep? You know?
Beats me.
Like, it's a beautiful cannabinoid.
Yeah. Why would you ban
7 years in prison for CBN?
7 years in prison. Yes, that too. For taking something that helps you sleep. I don't know. Oh boy, things got to change. That's why we need those global marijuana marches.
That's crazy. You know,
it is really crazy. Yeah. Speechless.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Other than saying that's crazy.
Very crazy.
Okay. Well, other than that, it is time for us to take a break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle.
Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. If I can hold that cough, man.
Doesn't mean it's time.
All righty. I see you're ready to go with the next story, so let's get her started.
Okie dokie. Next story is coming to us from Marijuana Moment. New York senators approved bill addressing medical cannabis reciprocity for out-of-state patients and pre-rolled joints. Lawmakers in New York are taking steps to expand access to medical cannabis, both for residents and visitors. According to Marijuana Moment, state senators have approved legislation that would allow medical cannabis reciprocity, meaning patients from other jurisdictions could legally access medical cannabis while visiting New York. I wonder if that's just, out of state or also out of country. The proposal would make it easier for out-of-state patients, including those traveling for work, tourism, or medical care, to continue their treatment without interruption. In addition, the bill includes provisions to allow the sale of pre-rolled cannabis products within the state's medical program. While pre-rolls are common in adult use markets, they have not always been permitted under the medical framework, which tends to be more restrictive. Supporters say the changes are about improving patient access and modernizing the system to reflect how people actually use cannabis. By allowing pre-rolls, the program could offer more convenient and accessible options for patients who may have difficulty preparing their own products. The move reflects a broader trend in the U.S. cannabis policy, where states are gradually refining their medical programs to be more flexible and patient-friendly. If the bill becomes law, New York would join a growing number of jurisdictions, recognizing that medical cannabis patients often travel and that continuity of care should not stop at state borders. I think that's pretty cool, Al.
Yeah, allowing people from out of state access to the medication while they're on the road is always 2 thumbs up to me, because access is very important. As far as out of country, I don't know. That would be interesting. I'm just trying to think from my experience when I was in Detroit many moons ago. Yeah, they knew I was a patient, so I had access at that time. but things have changed over the last several years. So who knows?
Yep. Everything's changed.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'd be nice if they would allow out-of-country people access to the medication while they're there.
I mean, thankfully, in states like New York, I mean, we have the recreational side of it. So it's nice. And then there's a lot of states that they have medical, but they have what we had, pre-2018. They still have dispensaries all over the place. They're just not legal, and they're not being bothered as long as they're not being rude. Such as in Hawaii, where I'm heading in May with my grandchildren and my daughter. Done some research down there. They have a medical program, but they are riddled with recreational dispensaries all over the place that aren't quite legal yet.
And they probably won't be for me. Still got that tickle in the back of my throat. It won't go away. And I know it's going to bother me during my next story. So here we go. I'll give it a try.
Give it a go.
There we go. All right. This is coming to us from normal.org. Cannabis use associated with significant reductions in patients' daily anxiety. Yes, the consumption of state-authorized medical cannabis products is associated with significant decreases in daily anxiety levels, according to some data that was published in the journal Nature Scientific Reports. Now, investigators affiliated with Florida Gulf Coast University assessed cannabis efficacy in a cohort of 416 patients with a history of anxiety. Participants' anxiety levels were initially assessed at baseline. Daily shifts in anxiety levels were assessed for the following 45 days. On some days, subjects consumed state-licensed medical cannabis products. At other times, subjects engaged in meditation and other activities to moderate their anxiety. Now, patients reported the greatest mitigation in their anxiety on the days they consumed cannabis. Now, the study's authors concluded results showed that across all 45 days and participants, medical cannabis use was the biggest factor in alleviating anxiety. Investigators investigating how patients administered their medical cannabis revealed no effect of route of administration on the relief of the anxiety. Now, future work should help paint a clearer picture on how initiating and maintaining medical cannabis use helps individuals deal with daily anxiety levels. Now, in a previous study of state-registered medical cannabis patients, over 90% of respondents said that cannabis helped to relieve their anxiety. Survey data consistently reports that consumers are most likely to use cannabis for purposes of mitigating pain and anxiety. There you go. Cannabis, everybody, all of the patients, that's 100%.
Yeah.
Found the benefit of using cannabis to deal with anxiety.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's big numbers.
Yeah, it's an amazing plant, and they did mention mitigating pain here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I know that there's been times over the years where I've had some anxiety about something that I'm about to do, and I go smoke a joint.
Yeah,
and
you
go
feel
ahead
better.
and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Alrighty, on to the next story.
Okie dokie. On to the next story. Coming to us from Marijuana Moment. This one caught my eye. The WNBA, women's sports, offers to end cannabis testing for women's basketball players as part of a reported deal with the union. Very cool. Professional sports may be on the verge of another major shift in cannabis policy. According to Marijuana Moment, the WNBA is reportedly offering to end cannabis testing for its players as part of ongoing negotiations with the players' union. If finalized, the change would align the league with a growing number of sports organizations that have moved away from penalizing cannabis use. In recent years, leagues like the NBA and the NFL have relaxed or modified their cannabis policies, reflecting changing public attitudes and increasing recognition of cannabis as a wellness tool. For athletes, the issue is often tied to pain management, recovery, and mental health. Some players have advocated for cannabis as an alternative to prescription medications, particularly instead of opiates and sleep aids. Supporters of the proposed change argue that cannabis use off the court should not be grounds for discipline, especially in jurisdictions where it's legal. Critics, however, continue to raise concerns about performance, safety, and league image. The reported agreement signals a broader cultural shift, one where cannabis is increasingly viewed less as a prohibited substance and more as a personal health choice. If the policy is adopted, it would mark another step towards normalization of cannabis use in professional sports and reflect the ongoing evolution of how institutions approach both player wellness and substance regulation. I think this is a big deal, Al.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good. It's great that this is happening. There's other leagues that have done this, and there's no reason why it needs to be implemented here in the WNBA. Like, they're professionals.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think there's been some other good announcements too when it comes to the WNBA as far as salaries and other things that the ladies have won the rights to in the bargaining, which is good. It gets them caught up with the men.
Absolutely. The women's sports has been something that's usually just held for the world stage. And we even had to fight for that. I remember when hockey first became a thing, women's hockey in the Olympics and whatnot. So, they fought to get on the world stage. That's where they've been. And I think it's really exciting to see the WNBA coming up, the Women's Hockey League. I'm just beyond ecstatic for that. Apparently, I heard a rumor the other day that they're expanding into Halifax.
Are they? Right.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, the women's baseball just started back up. And I think it's great to see a league where, the women can get out there and strut their stuff because, as much as I'm a feminist and we're all equal, I do realize the fact that genetically speaking, the male DNA is much stronger than the female DNA, stereotypically not for everybody. I know some really big, strong, muscular women. But for the most part, the women are a little bit more delicate than the men, less muscular, etc. So we need to play on an even playing ground. And I love that, professional women's sports are getting out there. One of my dear friends, her daughter is a hockey player, and she is just so enamored with the fact that there's a professional league now and she could go play professional hockey.
Somewhere for them to play. Exactly. Because that wasn't, when I was involved in coaching hockey, it wasn't available to the girls that were in the minor hockey system at the time. I had a team that had 2 girls on. Yep.
They can go so far with the mixed leagues, and then they have to start splitting them off. And at that point in time, until recently, there's been no place for the girls to go. And now places are being developed for the girls to go. And I'm just so excited for the young ladies out there that have aspirations of playing professional sports all year round.
Exactly. All righty. Time for us to move on to our last story of the day. And this comes to us from StratCan. And the headline reads, Conservatives' Cannabis Contradictions on Full Display in Rogan Poilievre Interview. American podcaster Joe Rogan hosted Canadian politician Pierre Poilievre on his podcast on March 19th, in which they briefly shared a surprising agreement on the value of legal cannabis. The surprising part for Canadians who don't have the political memory of a gnat was Poilievre's agreement with Rogan on the topic and principles of cannabis legalization. Really, they agreed. Now, despite Poilievre's agreement with Rogan that the government should not be preventing people from consuming something like cannabis, cheeseburgers, or whiskey, that him and his entire party, except for one person who was punished for it, voted against legalizing cannabis in Canada. Now, the Conservatives, including Paulier, not only voted against the bill that legalized and regulated cannabis in Canada, but also opposed the process at every step, refusing to even improve or refine the bill during a series of House committee hearings as it made its way through Parliament. Rogan mentions to Paulier that Canada has legal cannabis. Rogan then expands on his thoughts on why cannabis should be legal. He says it's not heroin, it's not opiates. This is what he tells Pierre Paulier. It's not like maybe you shouldn't do it if you have mental health problems, right? But there's a lot of people just like to take a pot gummy and go to bed and make them sleep better. Like, leave them alone. Like, leave people alone. Let people have a glass of whiskey. Let people have a glass of wine with dinner and leave them alone. At that point, Paulier interjects to say, that's my philosophy. What? Really? I don't think so, buddy. Now, Rogan continues, like, stop coming up with laws where you can impose your values and your morals and your judgments on other people. And Paulier continued to agree with Rogan. Ironically, given his vote against the right that in regards to cannabis. Like, no wonder. A good headline. Now, a more insightful interviewer might have instead noticed that this is a striking example of the huge gap between the Conservative Party's rhetoric and its actual policy. A leader from a political party that consistently opposed cannabis legalization, actively avoiding contributing to or amending the legislation, instead relied or fear-based messaging about the potential for social collapse, is now espousing principles of personal freedom, limited government, and the dangers of government overreach. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. During the interview, Paulier was paraphrasing words on the principles of freedom and liberty from a powerful slave owner. Meanwhile, those radically meddling nanny-state liberals, and even worse, Trudeau, actually took the difficult and politically risky path of ending nearly a century of government-imposed mortality. Rogan should do research before interviewing a politician and learning that stances on these topics. He's just there for entertainment purposes or to help specific voices push specific talking points and narratives. Perhaps one day, one of these conservative politicians will govern in ways that mirrors how they talk when they're on a podcast. Obviously, saying one thing during election time, during the cannabis thing, and now he goes on this podcast and says that basically he's for.
Well, one of the things that I like when we judge our politicians for changing their minds, one of the things that I always stand up for is we all have the right to realize how wrong we are, and to change our minds. And maybe Polyev has done that. But what Polyev should say is, I was wrong back then. He should at least acknowledge where he was and the choices and the reasons why he decided to change his mind. Because then that tells us that he's human and that he's admitting.
Yeah, he was wrong. And he hasn't done that. He's just all of a sudden saying these things on a podcast. What's he going to say next time? Because for those who were around in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, he voted to put us in jail longer than people who sexually abuse children. He voted for that bill, Bill C-10, the Crime and Community Safety Standards that Stephen Harper put out. And Polyev agreed with it, and he voted for it. So as far as I'm concerned, that's his stance. Until he comes right out and says otherwise, and I don't even know if I'll believe him until I see action that says otherwise.
Yep.
So, all right. Anything else?
Folks, he doesn't
There's
just
a
reel
reason why I
me
kept
back,
this-
he reels himself back. No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, there's a reason why I kept this story to the end. All right. Other than that, I think that's it. I think we're done.
Yep.
Okay, that's it for today, folks. I hope you found it educational and informative, and with more of it coming this Thursday. I'd like to say, or we'd like to say, thanks for tuning into the program and catching the news. Share it with others. As we've mentioned in the past, Facebook will no longer recommend us to anybody because they think we're selling drugs when all we're doing is giving out the news that we're posting without a problem on our Facebook page. So share us around so everybody can get educated. Other than that, thanks also to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, and At-Eze.ca. And as we always say, got a message. Buddy Weeds, you have a great day. You have a great day as well. And as I was saying, here we go. Do not educate, medicate, do not incarcerate. We'll see you Thursday. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.